Hey guys, we have here our new inflatable kayak, and in this video I want to show you how we're going to set these up and what we need to consider when we do that. So these kayaks usually come inside of a nice bag where everything that we need in order to go kayaking is included. So that has here the oars, then we have the pump to inflate the kayak, then here's like a separate inflatable seat cushion, and then of course the kayak itself. And when we are unfolding the kayak for the very first time, then we really want to make sure that we remember how this kayak was folded together. The reason is that you really want to make sure you fold it back together in the same way in order to get it properly into your carrying bag. So I actually suggest that you create a video recording of yourself when you are unfolding your kayak for the very first time, so that you can play back that video later on, and this way you can remember how to properly fold it back together. Okay, so now we're going to look for the valves of our kayak. So in this case, this model has 2 valves total, and these valves you can usually open in 2 different ways. So the first way is to unscrew the entire cap, and that is used in order to deflate the kayak once you want to put it away again. So but this way is not how we open up the valve in order to inflate it. So in order to inflate it, we first make sure that the cap here is securely tightened and there's no air coming out. And then once we have tightened it enough, then we just open up this cap here on the top. So this just needs about a quarter turn, and then we can take this top off. And this is basically a one-way valve. So, and this is here where we are inflating the kayak with. But then you want to make sure you inflate the different chambers in the right order. So you usually find like a number printed right next to each of the valves. So here, this is a second valve that we have on this kayak, and see here right next to it, this is a 1. So this is the first air chamber that we want to inflate. So here we first make sure again that the valve is completely closed. So even like this major valve that we use to deflate the chambers later on, we make sure that those are really tightened, there's no air leaking out, and then we open up the one-way valve. So this one here, we just twist this one also counterclockwise by about a quarter of a turn, and then we can prepare here our pump. This one comes here with this 3-foot hose, and one end of the hose we're just plugging in to the bottom of the pump here, right where that outlet is. Just push it firmly over that end. And then the other end of the hose we're going to simply plug into the end of the valve. So notice right now I'm plugging it into the second valve, which is the wrong one. We should start with the first valve, but I can easier record this here to show you how this is done. See how easy you just plug it in, then you can start pumping. So of course now I'm just going to give it a couple of pumps, and then I'm actually going to switch to the first valve, the valve with the number 1, which is supposed to be inflated first. And now, even though this is a very small pump, inflating the bottom chamber is actually really fast. So in total, it took me about 1 minute to inflate the bottom chamber. But of course, I'm going to speed this up in this video a little bit so that we don't have to watch me inflate the bottom chamber for a whole minute. And once we have the feeling the chamber is pretty much full, then we're going to just make like a pressure test with our hands. We don't want to really overinflate the chamber completely, so we don't want to make it really tight. It's just supposed to be just enough air in there that it's really fully inflated. Then there's also here this little section that shows you the distance that it's supposed to have. So this area here is supposed to have 10 centimeters in width. Not sure how useful this really is, but just by pressing on it, we really do get a good feeling if there is enough air in there or not. And now it's time to unplug plug the hose from the valve, and we don't need to rush and close the valve because it is a one-way valve. We just have to make sure that we put the cap back on, and then we can switch now to our second valve. And here we are, of course, doing the same thing. Now we're going to pump this up as well. Remember, don't inflate this second chamber either, or overinflate this second chamber either. Just put enough air in there. This one has also this little 10 centimeter indicator. And once we have this fully inflated, we can again detach the hose and then close off the valve here as well. Then next we have to inflate the seat cushion and the backrest. So these valves have a little bit different size, so they're a lot smaller. So we're going to use one of these adapters here, and then we just put the hose back into those valves for the cushions. And here these chambers are a lot smaller, so they are going to inflate really quick. So they're just going to require a couple of pumps. And then the valves here are also one-way valves, so we don't really have to make sure that we close them right away. We can just, in order to deflate them, we have to kind of pinch these. So now we can just put the valve cover on here, and then you can push on these valves in order to kind of hide them in the cushion themselves, so that we don't accidentally open up the valves and deflate them when we don't want to. And then we just squeeze the cushions here right into the kayak, and then we're going to secure them with the rope here. We're going to just clip these ropes here in the sides, so in case we capsize with our kayak, then the cushions are not going to float away by accident. Okay, that is it. And then we have here the skag. So the skag is going to ensure that we are not, or that we are going to be stable when we're using the kayak, and we're going to be stable in the water. And we insert this skag by just sliding it in from the front towards the back. And if we want to remove the skag, and we just have to push on on the button here that we find there, and then we can slide it right out. And then the last step is to assemble the oar. So this comes in several pieces. This one has a total of 5 pieces, and the way that we assemble this is just by pushing them together. But then there's these little plastic buttons here that we have to depress before we can push the pieces together. Just push down on the plastic button, and then push the pieces all the way together. Don't forget to install these drip rubbers here. So we're going to slide these over the pole before we put the oars all the way together. Just like this here, just pull them over. These will make sure that the water drips down and doesn't get ourselves wet all the time. And then we just repeat this with the last end pieces, with the 2 end pieces. And that is pretty much it for the oar. So then we have that put together as well. And the last item that we don't want to forget is our life preserver. Always keep one of those with you, so that in case we capsize, we don't accidentally drown. Yeah, so this was all it for this video. Hope you found the information helpful, and if you have any more questions or comments, then please leave a message below.